Tonight, look up. The moon is sitting there the way it always has, doing something so quietly and so constantly that nobody thinks to mention it. It's holding things together, not in a poetic sense, in a mechanical, gravitational, geological sense. The moon is one of the least appreciated load-bearing structures in the history of complex life. And the moment it vanished, a clock would start. Not a metaphorical clock. An actual sequence of physical events, each one triggering the next, each one compressing the window for everything alive on this planet. The question isn't whether things would fall apart. The question is how fast and in what order. Start with the tides, because the tides go first and they go immediately. Right now, the moon accounts for roughly 2/3 of every tidal movement on Earth. The sun handles the remaining third. Pull the moon out of that equation, and the oceans don't stop moving, but they shrink. Dramatically. Tides drop to about 1/3 of their current range. That sounds like a number. Intertidal zones, the strips of coastline that sit between the high water mark and the low, are among the most biologically productive environments on the planet. Crabs, mussels, starfish, sea anemones, thousands of species of algae. All of them built their entire life cycle around a rhythm of flooding and exposure driven by lunar gravity. That rhythm stops. The zones either stay submerged or stay exposed, depending on position. Either way, they become something else, and the food webs they anchor begin to unravel almost immediately. But here's what most people don't think about. Tidal churning doesn't just move animals around. It moves nutrients. It oxygenates coastal water. It drags cold, mineral-rich water up from depth and mixes it with warm surface layers. This process, called tidal mixing, is part of what keeps the oceans productive from the bottom up. Reduce it by 2/3, and you're not just inconveniencing crabs, you're altering the foundation of marine chemistry. Oxygen levels shift, nutrient gradients collapse. The productivity of coastal fisheries, which feed billions of people, begins contracting? Not overnight, but the direction is set, and it doesn't reverse. Then there's the coral. Coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor. They support roughly 25% of all marine fish species, and coral reproduction is locked to the lunar cycle with a precision that took billions of years to develop. Once a year, during specific lunar phases, millions of coral colonies across an entire reef release their eggs and sperm simultaneously. All of them, at once. This synchronized mass spawning exists because the moon provides a reliable environmental cue, a biological metronome that coordinates the entire event. Without it, individual colonies would release gametes at random intervals. Fertilization rates would collapse, genetic diversity across coral populations would narrow, and the reefs, already under pressure from warming water and acidification, would lose the reproductive mechanism that has kept them generating new life for hundreds of millions of years. And here's the part that operates on a longer timescale, but is arguably more catastrophic than anything else. Earth's axial tilt is currently 23.4 degrees. It wobbles slightly, but the wobble is small and slow, taking roughly 26,000 years to complete one full cycle and deviating only about 2.4 degrees in either direction. That stability is not an accident. The moon's gravitational influence is actively suppressing a much larger wobble that would otherwise develop. Remove the moon, and that suppression disappears. Over tens of thousands of years, the axial tilt begins drifting erratically, potentially swinging from nearly 0 degrees to 45 degrees or more. Think about what that means. At extreme tilt, the poles point almost directly at the sun for part of the year. Seasons don't just intensify, they become something unrecognizable. Predictable climate bands vanish. The equatorial regions that currently support the densest concentrations of biodiversity on land experience conditions they have never encountered. Ice sheets migrate unpredictably. Rainfall patterns collapse and rebuild in entirely different configurations. The planetary environment, which life has spent billions of years adapting to, becomes a moving target. The rotation problem arrives much faster. Earth spins at its current rate, in large part because the moon has been slowing it down for billions of years through tidal friction. Early Earth rotated once every 4 hours. The moon has been acting as a gravitational brake ever since, adding about 2 milliseconds to the length of every day every century. Remove that brake, and the slowdown stops instantly. Earth doesn't suddenly snap back to a 4-hour day. But over geological time, without the moon's drag, the day stays shorter than it should. Current estimates put a moonless Earth day somewhere between 6 and 10 hours. Faster rotation means more violent atmospheric dynamics. Centrifugal forces push air and water toward the equator with greater intensity. Wind speeds increase to levels that would reshape coastlines and make large portions of the planet functionally uninhabitable for organisms built for calmer conditions. The atmosphere doesn't blow away, but it behaves differently, and nothing alive is adapted to what it becomes. The moon, through its gravitational relationship with Earth, plays a stabilizing role in the inner solar system that extends well beyond this planet. Research using solar system simulations has found that the Earth-Moon system acts as a kind of gravitational keystone for the terrestrial planets. Without it, the orbits of Venus and Mercury become destabilized. The secular resonances that the moon helps suppress begin to reassert themselves. Earth would not immediately be struck by anything, but the long-term orbital dynamics of the inner solar system shift into a less predictable configuration, and unpredictability over sufficient time tends to resolve in ways that are bad for life. None of this happens in a day. Most of it takes centuries, millennia, or longer. But the moon's disappearance would set every single one of these processes into motion simultaneously, and there would be no mechanism to stop them. The tides shrink on day 1. The coral lose their metronome within the first lunar cycle that never comes. The axial drift begins accumulating invisibly over thousands of years. And the night sky, which has never once in human history been without that bright, familiar disk, goes dark in a way it hasn't been since before there were eyes to look at it.